The moment you consider quitting is rarely loud. It arrives quietly after the room empties, after effort stops making sense. It asks a simple question while you stare at something unfinished. What happens if you put it down and never return? He stands at the edge of a decision that did not arrive today, but has been waiting for him for months. Morning still comes on time. The street outside still wakes up. Cars pass, shops open, people move with places to be. Inside him, nothing moves. He wakes before the alarm, sits on the edge of the bed, and stares at the same wall he has stared at every morning. His body knows the routine. His hands follow it. His mind does not believe in it anymore. A small object rests on the table near the window. It has been there for weeks, untouched. Once it meant progress. Once it represented a promise he made to himself in a quiet, hopeful moment. Now it feels heavier than it looks. He does not throw it away. He does not pick it up. He lets it sit there, watching him fail to decide. Days pass without collapse. Nothing dramatic breaks. That is what makes it harder. He works, but without presence. He tries, but without trust. Effort leaves his body and never seems to return. Each repeated habit feels like lifting the same weight with weaker arms. He does not feel anger toward his dream. He feels distance, a slow separation that scares him more than failure ever did. Shame follows him quietly. It appears in small moments, when someone asks how things are going, when he avoids eye contact with his own reflection, when silence lasts a little too long. He feels it while standing in line, while eating alone, while pretending he is only tired. The room stays calm. No music plays, no phone vibrates. The air feels still, like it is waiting for something he cannot give. He realizes the hardest part is not quitting. The hardest part is standing this close to quitting and doing nothing. And in that stillness, one fear stays louder than the rest. The fear that time is moving, and he is not. Days begin to lose their edges. Morning and evening feel the same now, like light changing without meaning. He still wakes early, but the urgency that once lived in his chest is gone. The discipline that used to guide him does not disappear all at once. It slips quietly. A skipped task here, a delayed start there, small breaks that seem harmless until they form a pattern. The object is still there. He notices it without looking at it. Where it once pulled his attention with promise, it now creates pressure. He avoids the table where it rests. He chooses longer routes through the room. Avoidance feels easier than disappointment. He tells himself it does not matter today. He tells himself tomorrow will be different. No one questions him. That silence becomes its own voice. Inside his mind, doubt speaks with familiarity. It asks if this version of him is all that remains. It reminds him of who he used to be. The contrast hurts more than any mistake. He remembers mornings when effort felt clean, when belief carried him through tired hours. Now every action feels heavier because hope is thinner. Small setbacks arrive without warning. A task takes longer than it should. A result does not come. Each one lands harder than the last. Quitting starts to feel gentle. It feels like rest, not defeat. Relief without explanation. That is what makes it dangerous. He pauses often, not to think but to escape the weight of choosing. The days continue. He continues with them, and somewhere beneath the routine, the question waits quietly, growing more patient with each passing hour. The moment does not announce itself. It looks like an ordinary attempt, one more effort made without ceremony. He sits down, prepares himself, and begins. There is no rush, no anger, only a tired focus that fades too quickly. When it ends, nothing improves. The failure is small, almost private, but it lands deep. No one sees it happen. That makes it heavier. There is no one to blame, no one to explain it to. The room remains still. The air feels thicker, like it is holding its breath. He stays seated longer than necessary, staring at the space where progress was supposed to be. His hand reaches for the object. For the first time in weeks, he picks it up. It feels familiar and distant at the same time. He turns it slowly, searching for meaning that no longer comes easily. He asks himself when it stopped representing possibility and started representing fear. An admission settles in. Not spoken aloud, fear has been making decisions for him longer than he wanted to admit. Fear of effort, fear of disappointment, fear of discovering that he no longer has what it takes. The isolation sharpens. He feels separated not only from others, but from the person he remembers being. Leaving starts to feel acceptable. Not dramatic, not painful, just quiet. He considers setting the object down and never touching it again. The silence does not rush high. It allows the numbness to sit fully. This is the edge, the place where walking away would happen without sound. And still, something remains unresolved. He walks through the quiet office, the hum of the air conditioning blending with the soft tap of his shoes against the floor. The symbolic object he has avoided all week lies on the table, its presence heavy, almost accusing. He does not reach for it, not yet. His thoughts circle, tangled in months of doubt, in every near failure he has survived, every day spent pretending the routine still mattered. A voice breaks through the monotony. It is calm, deliberate, and it carries a weight he cannot ignore. He turns to see the mentor leaning against the doorway, hands casually in pockets, eyes steady. There is no judgment in the look, no enthusiasm, no guidance, only observation. You are not tired of trying. You are tired of judging yourself for failing. The words hit him like a subtle earthquake, shaking foundations he did not realize had cracked. He wants to argue, wants to say that exhaustion is real, that the weight of effort is unrelenting. But the truth presses against him harder than fatigue ever could. For months, self-criticism has been the heaviest burden. Now it is named, visible. The hallway feels different. The light seems softer. The object on the table seems lighter, almost inviting. The mentor leaves without fanfare. He is left alone, but something has shifted. He picks up the symbolic object, feeling its weight in his hands, finally seeing it without fear or expectation. The room stays quiet. No solution is offered. No rush of relief arrives, but clarity begins to settle in the corners of his mind. He is responsible now, not for instant victory, but for honesty with himself. The pressure remains, but it changes its form. He breathes, finally noticing the small space around him. The calm, the pause, the stillness. Morning comes slowly. The symbolic object rests beside him, no longer a talisman of failed dreams, but a tool to measure his own pace. He does not promise perfection. He does not expect transformation overnight. He decides instead to take a single step, one small action repeated quietly, privately. He completes a simple task, a sentence written, a drawer organized, a message answered. His hands ache. His mind questions the point, yet he continues. Fear is present, whispering that quitting would be easier. But it no longer dictates his choices. Progress is measured in motion, not applause. Discipline returns in modest form. He makes the bed. He walks to the window. He breathes with intention. The symbolic object, now handled gently, reminds him that rebuilding trust in himself does not need grand gestures. Courage does not announce itself. It is quiet insistence. It is the act of showing up one more time when no one is watching. He notices small shifts. The day feels less heavy. His mind, though still wary, begins to recognize possibility. The fear is not gone, but it shares space with action. Step by step, he builds momentum. Nothing dramatic changes, yet everything feels subtly altered. The routine itself becomes a form of recovery. The small victories, nearly invisible, add up. He moves forward in silence. The world outside continues indifferent, and that is acceptable. Growth does not demand recognition. The symbolic object sits beside him, a witness to this quiet persistence. Courage, he realizes, often looks unimpressive. It is not heroic. It is simply movement when stillness would be easier. He has chosen the smaller step, and in that choice he begins again. He sits by the window, the city moving softly beyond the glass. The rain has stopped, leaving a quiet residue on the streets below. He notices the symbolic object beside him, its weight familiar but no longer oppressive. It is no longer a test, no longer a reminder of failure. It simply exists, like a witness to effort and patience, and he allows it to be part of his life without expectation. The mornings feel steadier now. He rises, completes the routines, not with urgency or hope of recognition, but with the quiet commitment to return each day. The fear of quitting has not vanished, but it has lost its power. It is no longer a tempting escape. He acknowledges the uncertainty of the path ahead and accepts it without harsh judgment. He reflects on the months that brought him here, the near-quit moments, the long silences, the mistakes he carried like stones. He admits softly to himself that rising again does not erase the fall. The failures remain, but their weight is different now. Survival itself has become evidence of resilience. Life continues unassuming, indifferent as it always does. He does not celebrate. He does not promise transformation. He continues with quiet intention, aware of limits, aware of responsibility. The symbolic object sits nearby, a small anchor in the routine of living. The storm has passed, not perfectly, not fully, but enough to leave calm. Behind it, in the silence, he breathes, grounded, present, and honest with himself. Moral lessons. Quitting often feels logical when self-trust is broken. The mind seeks escape when belief in one's own decisions has faltered. Recognizing this can prevent hasty surrender. Discipline fades fastest when shame becomes daily company. The weight of constant self-judgment saps effort and erodes momentum, making even small tasks feel monumental. Small failures hurt more when you expect perfection. Holding the ideal too tightly magnifies every misstep, creating unnecessary despair. The right words at the right moment can redirect a life. Guidance, clarity, or insight from an unexpected source can shift perspective, opening a path forward that was previously invisible. Courage begins when honesty replaces self-judgment. Facing oneself without blame, acknowledging limitations and effort, forms the foundation of deliberate action. Progress does not require belief, only return. Continuity matters more than certainty. Returning to the work, step by step, rebuilds momentum where confidence may be absent. Rising again is rarely loud, but it is always deliberate. True resilience is measured in quiet persistence, in small steps taken even when the outcome is uncertain, proving survival without fanfare.